Hey, what is up guys? It is God's Unit here. Welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be showing off my terrain generation. Now technically this is roughly 2 months in the making, and I'm very excited to show off what I have. So before we begin, I just want to say that I initially made my first terrain generation about 2 months ago. It was very slow, very unoptimized, and it did not work super well. The terrain looked really good, but it was just too slow, too clunky. Um, and this version that I'm going to show you today is extremely optimized. The terrain looks pretty good, but it does have a little bit less features than the other one. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to start off with a quick tutorial on how to use this function pack, so that you guys can test it out. The function pack will be in the description today. So without further ado, let's get right into looking at how this function pack works. Alright guys, so it's actually super simple how this works. All you're going to do is type /function setup, just like that, and in chat it will tell you what to do next. So we're going to go ahead and give ourselves tag add s add load, and as you can see, terrain is going to start loading around me, and as I move around I'm going to get more chunks to load. And we want to try and look for some land. And all of this is done completely with vanilla commands. The only add-on is the function pack. There's nothing else in the add-on except for the function pack. So as you guys can see, we are loading terrain, and it is loading very quickly. And you know, there's trees and everything, and you know, if you're just running around, I mean, this almost just looks like a normal survival world that, you know, somebody might play. Now there is only one biome, which is a little bit unfortunate, but you know, it works quite well. And the other thing too is that if you go ahead, you go and you change your render distance to the lowest it goes. Some people it's 5, some people it's 8, but whatever the lowest it goes is, and you kind of run around, it'll almost look like the world is generating just like a normal world, because you can't really see that far out anyways. So as the world generates, it almost looks natural. And I think that is pretty cool. Okay guys, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to remove the tag from myself that loads everything in, and I'm just going to show you, first of all, there is a weird glitch with trees, which is quite unfortunate. So essentially what happens is this loads from pretty far away from the player, so far enough away so that, you know, you can run around and play as if this was a real survival world where it generates around you. And due to that, the way leaves generate with the /fill command, they don't always fully generate. Sometimes the /fill does not actually fill, and it leaves the leaves not loading in, which is pretty unfortunate. It doesn't look that great. But now that I have the loading off, I can kind of show you what this looks like from the outside. So as you can see, it generates in 32 by 32 chunks around the player. It's running roughly 10,000 commands per tick. And I'm going to do my best to give a short explanation of how this is actually working. How is this loading chunks? So essentially, let's say you are here, right? What this is going to do is it's going to check for air 16 blocks out, 32 blocks out, 48 blocks out, etc. And let's say over here, I'm still over there, right? It sees that there's air down here at this block, right? So right here it sees that there's air. So what it does is it generates, or it summons an armor stand right at that coordinate, and that armor stand says, okay, so what is the starting position of this chunk? So it takes its current coordinate and it subtracts it from the initial starting coordinate. So the starting coordinate would be right here. So the armor stand uses binary teleportation to teleport itself over here or wherever the starting is. And then it zigzags through like this. So it goes like this, like this, like this, all the way through the entire chunk and generates the entire thing. And the way that it actually knows the heights and everything to generate is just math. So essentially what we do is we take the current coordinates of the armor stand and we take the four corners of that chunk. So for instance, right now we're using a 32 block octave, which means it's 32 by 32. And what it's doing is it's taking whatever the current value is and dividing that by 32. So right now my coordinate is 222, so it would be 222 divided by 32. That would give you the chunk on the x-axis that I am in. And then it multiplies that by 32 to get the coordinate of the x chunk, and then it does the same thing for the z-axis, and then in order to get the corner chunks we need one more coordinate. So it takes that same chunk that you're in, let's say you're in chunk 5, and it adds 1 to that, so that would be 6. So 6 times 32 would be your x chunk corner, and then maybe it's 8 times 32 would be your z chunk corner. Now you have your initial starting chunk corner and your second chunk corner for the x and z axis. And what we're going to do is we're going to take those coordinates, we're going to run them through something called a pseudo-random number generator, along with the world seed. So that world seed that it said that it generated at the beginning is a part of that pseudo-random number generator algorithm. So it's going to take the input A, which is the first chunk coordinate, input B, which is the second chunk coordinate, and the seed, and it's going to run them through a deterministic algorithm to generate a random number for each corner. And the way we line up the chunks is that every corner is going to be matched on, 4 different sides. So let's say this is a corner, right? All of these corners match up because they're the same input value. Because the seed makes the random number deterministic based off the inputs. But essentially, you are, randomly generating terrain with that. And now that's a very basic rundown of how this works, but you guys can take a look at the function in the description and see exactly how everything works. But this is mostly just math with some bilinear there is bilinear, yes. It's mostly just math with some binary teleportation to teleport the armor stand exactly where it needs to be, zigzag it around the chunk, and then instantly load that terrain so that you can literally play survival in this fake world. And I think it's pretty cool, so I hope you guys really enjoy it, and I hope you guys have a good day. I do have another video coming out within the next couple of months, so please stay tuned for that, because it's going to be a very good one, unlike this one, which is pretty bad. But I will catch you guys later. Thank you so much for watching. This has been God's Unit, and I am out.